Hey guys, how's it going? Thanks for joining me once again and welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, I'm actually returning to my existing vinyl collection. You know I have three categories, so today's episode is another episode of hard rock / heavy metal vinyl. So it's been a while since I've done one of these. I think I've done 3 or 4 before, and today's one is dedicated to one band, namely Black and Blue. So I did mention them in a recent collection update, but if you're not familiar, they are a hard rock / hair metal band which was very sort of at their peak during the 80s, but they're still around and touring now and actively performing, which is great. But the majority of the material they released was in the 80s, and it's kind of, I suppose you could classify it as hard rock, but also hair metal because they had the big hair and they were sort of part of that LA Sunset Strip scene. Like, they were originally from Oregon, so northwest of the US, but then they moved to LA in order to get, I suppose there was a big scene at that time, so that's how a lot of bands got recognition. But they also have sort of ties to other popular bands, as I've mentioned before, because the original guitarist was none other than Tommy Thayer, who's now the lead guitarist of Kiss. And Jamie St. James, he also sang for one of Warrant's albums, Born Again, one of the recent ones. So, but in their own right, they are a fantastic band, and I'm going to go into their history a little bit as I talk about the albums. But basically they have 5 albums, I think, 4 of which came out in the 80s, and I have all 4 of those on vinyl, so that's what we're talking about today. So yeah, their style, like I said, it's hard rock / heavy metal, but what's interesting is, although they're an American band, in the beginning at least, they had a lot which was comparable to European bands, like German and British bands such as Def Leppard, Scorpions, and there's reasons for that, which I'll go into, and then their sound kind of evolved as well. So without further ado, we'll get into the collection. So the first album they ever released in 1984, this is their self-titled album, Black and Blue. And as you can see here, this is a Japanese pressing, which I managed to pick up at a market in Thailand, actually mint. And some people might think I'm crazy for playing it, but I'm one of those people, I buy music to listen to it, not to just leave it looking pretty on a shelf. But yeah, fantastic album. So this had a few hits, and this is where they just broke out onto that scene in the 1980s. You might be familiar with this, but they weren't as commercially successful as a lot of other bands in that genre at the time. And I remember reading about the history of this band. It's because they were waiting to get producer Dieter Dierks for this album, and Dieter Dierks was of course responsible for producing all those great Scorpions albums in the 70s and 80s, and they waited for him to be available, and as a result of that, a lot of other bands came in onto the scene, so the market had kind of been saturated a bit by the time this came out. But never mind that, musically it's an absolutely brilliant album. I really like it. If you just like 80s hard rock / hair metal, you will love this. Like I said, it has more of a European sound than a lot of those other American bands, and it's very heavy. The production, it's brilliant, and it was worth the wait for Dieter Dierks. But yeah, absolutely amazing album. Every single song on this is great. It's really heavy. The opening track, the Strong Will Rock, like has this kind of stomp clap sound effect in the background, like Slade did with a lot of their songs, but it just makes it really heavy. Great guitar riffs, great vocals, everything. Yeah, and in addition to that, just a very catchy sing-along chorus as well. Then the second track, School of Hard Knocks, again, very catchy, great chorus in that, followed by Auto Blast, which is like a very sort of fast, heavy rocking tune, which is great. And then the fourth track is one of the main single from this album, Hold On to 18. Brilliant song, just a very catchy, anthemic hard rock song. It really is an anthem. And that song got some radio play, I think. And yeah, just the chorus is very memorable in that. Great lyrics as well. And the side A concludes with Wicked Bitch, which is very heavy again, and a hooky, catchy song, so brilliant. Then we go over to side 2, which starts with a sweet cover, Action, which has been covered by other bands such as Def Leppard and everything, but I really think that this band's cover of it is the best. It's really great, and Jamie St. James, the vocalist, I think he had a fun time impersonating the British accent when he was singing the words on that song, which that's the impression I get anyway. Show Me the Night is another like slow, heavy, catchy one, but great anthemic chorus once again. One for the Money is sort of a hard rocking one, like a bit more upbeat again. I'm the King is a brilliant song. Oh, and that's what I was going to mention. There's a lot of driving bass in these songs. Like the bass player was Patrick Holmes, and what's good about Black and Blue's production is the bass is always high in the mix, so you just hear this pulse which is backing up the hard crunch of the music. And yeah, so I'm the King, such a great song. And then the album concludes with Chains Around Heaven, which is another very heavy, catchy song. So literally all 10 songs on this are great, absolutely brilliant. Yep, so I'll just show you, this actually came in a shrink wrap, so I can't open it. And you've got the Obi strip here, that's over Tommy Thayer's face actually, but let's talk about the lineup. So Tommy Thayer on guitar, Pete Holmes on drums, Jamie St. James lead vocals, Jeff Whoop Warner on rhythm guitar, and Patrick Young on bass. Cool Obi strip here, and I'll just show you the inside. So first of all, just plain black vinyl with Geffen Records labels, because they were signed to Geffen, I think, throughout their entire career actually, at least in the 80s. And then what's cool about this, there's a lyric sheet which is fold out, and it's got some liner notes in Japanese and English, and all of the lyrics both in English and translated to Japanese. So yeah, I just randomly saw this at a market, and I can't believe I got it at such a good price. But yes, this is a great, strong debut album, and one of my favorites by the band. If you haven't heard it, go and listen to it. So that's Black and Blue with Black and Blue. Right. Okay, so coming up next, this is the album which came out in 1985, their sophomore album. This is Black and Blue with Without Love. With Without Love. So you can see here from the picture on the back, what's the most obvious thing? They became a lot glammier in image. So like I said, I don't think they were ever really a glam metal band, but they were sort of lumped in with that because of the hair and everything, except I will say there is some truth about the glam aspect for this album. This is the poppiest album that they ever did, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. There's some really good songs on this, but yeah, they really glammed up the image here. But this is the album where they sounded very close to, in my opinion, very close to Def Leppard, and I think Def Leppard was always an inspiration for them. In a way, they were kind of like the American Def Leppard with regard to some songs anyway. But yeah, on this album, whereas the debut was very sort of hard and heavy, just like straightforward hard rock, this is a lot glammier, like there's a lot more keyboards and a more polished production, and the songs have a sort of lighter kind of poppier feel. But just like Def Leppard, some great melodies, and again, this band is always infectiously catchy, so this album is great. Like all of Side A, all of the songs on Side A are featured on their Greatest Hits album, so that's saying something. So the album opens up with Rockin' on Heaven's Door, and that's quite a heavy track. And in addition to that, the chorus vocals are very similar to Queen, you know, that kind of like a choral, electronically arranged, harmonized kind of chorus, which is really good. Then the title track, Without Love, very catchy, hooky song, and you know, very Def Leppard-esque backing vocals in that song. But the chorus is just so typically 1980s, and I mean that in a good way, just so hair glam metal, it's fantastic. So great title track. Then you've got Stop the Lightning, which is very Def Leppard-esque in terms of the backing vocals, and again those electronic vocal harmonizations which sound really good. Then Nature of the Beach, that's a kind of like happy poppy song. They use a lot of keyboards in that, you know, that song's about checking out babes at the beach, so very 1980s California. And then Side A concludes with Miss Mystery, which is a power ballad, yes, but what I like about this band is their power ballads are not cheesy. Miss Mystery, it's like in that typical kind of depressing in a good way verse, but then the chorus is very sort of anthemic again, so that's a brilliant song. But what's interesting is Side 2, when I got this album, I'd never heard any of these songs, but they're all great. Like Swing Time, it gets faster and more upbeat, which is great. Bombastic Plastic is a heavy song, and that's dedicated to the love of vinyl, so really good lyrics in that. And by the way, Jamie St. James, I think he is a really good lyricist. Like he just writes these kind of rhymes, a bit like Stephen Pearcy from Rat, where they're just like very clever and catchy and they stick in your head. So Bombastic Plastic is a great song, very catchy chorus, and the driving riff in that, it's brilliant. We Got the Fire is another sort of fast upbeat one again. So Side B is going more into rock territory, I think, which is great. Now Strange Things has got some excellent vocals from Jamie St. James. Like that's got a more sort of slower, sort of serious tone, but it's a really good one. And then the last song, Two Wrongs Don't Make It Love, that's a very catchy song and very easy to sing along to, and it sticks in your head. So yeah, brilliant album. So I've heard a lot of people say fans of Black and Blue that this is their favorite. I understand. I really like it. There's just other albums that I like better. So yes, it is poppy with a lot of songs, and they're going for that kind of Def Leppard sound in a way. But, you know, as I said, side B is very rock. So there's something for everyone. And also the melodies and the songs are just so catchy. So here we go. Cool, kind of abstract cover. And yep, comes with this sleeve. This is a bit beaten up. I got a second-hand one, but just had to have it when it's an album by this band. And yep, plain black vinyl, Geffen Records label once again. Yeah, so yeah, I think this album sort of came out in the wake of, you know, Def Leppard had released Photograph, and a lot of bands were sort of going for that sound to a degree. But having said that, I think this band always retained their own sound. Like, so they had a lot in common with other bands, but it was distinctly their own sound. So great album, a bit poppy as I say, but still very catchy. So that's Black and Blue with Without Love. All right, so this is going into one which I bought just recently. This was the one which rounded off the collection for me, and I'm very happy to have finally found it. This is Black and Blue with Nasty Nasty, which came out in 1986. And on this album, you see another shift in the musical direction. I think that's because they took Gene Simmons on board as producer. So Gene Simmons, of course, bass player and vocalist for Kiss. This was during the time where he was sort of involved in producing bands, not very involved with Kiss, so this was one of the bands he took on. And if you know Gene Simmons' style with regard to Kiss, like I think Paul Stanley liked to write the kind of sort of more poppy, accessible songs in the 80s, but Gene wanted to crunch all the time and write heavy songs. That is reflected with this album because it's a pretty heavy, aggressive album as well. So whereas Without Love was poppy, this is returning to the hard rock roots. Brilliant, brilliant album. And like I said, I knew a lot of the songs on this from the greatest hits, but some of them are new to me as well. So title track Nasty Nasty, great riff and chorus in that, incredibly heavy. And you'll notice, Kiss fans, that the riff, you might think, wait, isn't that the riff for Domino? Correct, but Tommy Thayer wrote it first for Black and Blue in 1986, and then Gene liked that riff so much that he ripped it off when writing the song Domino. Of course, with Domino, the verse, melodies, and the chorus are different, but the guitar riff is exactly the same as Nasty Nasty, and I really like this title track, it's great. Then you've got the slow, heavy, kind of anthemic track, I Want It All, I Want It Now, perhaps inspired by Queen again, but really good song. Track 3, Does She or Doesn't She, that's one of my favorite Black and Blue songs. You know, very sort of atmospheric guitars in that song, and the riffs are just really memorable and catchy, and pretty funny lyrics in that song as well. Like, it's all about a guy in maybe a bar or club trying to pick up this woman, and he's not sure if he's going to be successful or get rejected. So that's what the song's about. And I really like the lyric, which is funny in that song, is, if I put my hand on her leg, will she give it all or will she make me beg? So quite funny. And then yeah, Kiss of Death, that's a song I had never heard, which is a great track. Then over to side B. Some of these songs I had never heard before until recently, but I really like 12 O'Clock High is just a great euphoric, fast, hard rock song, as is Do What You Want to Do. And like this album, while it's really heavy, it's also just got that feel-good 80s glam kind of sound to it, which is great. I'll Be There For You is another power ballad using a lot of synthesizers. So a lot of, you know, like I said, with a lot of power ballads, they can be kind of inherently depressive in nature, but it's just got such a great sing-along chorus, so I really like that. Great one. I know the band wasn't so happy with that song, but I really like it personally. Now then there's the track Rules, which is great, again, very catchy, and that reminds me a little bit of the Scorpions song Bad Boys Running Wild. You know, like that part in the song where they say, you'd better get out of their way. Like, I'm not going to sing it because I can't sing, but yeah, the Rules, it kind of follows that melodic and vocal pattern in that, which is great. And then it concludes with Best in the West, which is another fun, catchy hard rock song. So yeah, this album, it's like the band returning to their hard rock roots. Very heavy guitars, and it's crunching once again. The drums are pounding, the bass is pulsing. Bass is always high in the mix with this band, like I said, so it's brilliant. Just show you the back. So same original lineup. So it was the same guys for the 4 albums in the 80s, but yeah, as you can probably tell, once again, there's not one track I dislike on this, so very happy to finally have this and round off the 80s collection of Black and Blue. So again, comes on plain black vinyl, Geffen Records, and there is an inner sheet with this one as well. Okay. Yeah. So again, this is a Japanese pressing. I bought this in Bangkok, so it's got some English lyrics as well as the Japanese, and it comes on 2 separate sheets, which is kind of cool. So good collectible. And yeah, the guy in the shop, I bought this one secondhand, but he told me it was mint for its state, and I believed him, having looked at the record. So it plays really well, and the cover is pretty good as well. So I'm just going to edit this part out as I put this stuff away. Okay, and now coming up to the band's final album of the 80s. This one came out in 1988. This is Black and Blue with In Heat. So you can see here, I've got some script here. I found this secondhand in a market, but this is another fantastic album by Black and Blue, again produced by Gene Simmons. So something I also forgot to mention was, whereas the earlier albums had more of a kind of European sound, with these later albums, Nasty Nasty and In Heat, this one, it was again going back to that more sort of American hard rock sound. So their comparisons can be made with, to a degree, with Kiss and Motley Crue, but as well as Def Leppard to a degree, and again their own distinct sound, especially with Jamie St. James's voice. Like, in some ways, it was sort of typical of that glam era, but it was really distinct, his voice. So this band always stands out. So this is another hard crunching album, absolutely great. The opening track, Rock On, just heavy as balls, really crunchy and catchy. It's great. Sight for Sore Eyes is pretty good as well. Heat It Up, Burn It Out, brilliant song. And again, that's like got a slow driving heavy riff, and it's kind of similar to Def Leppard, especially the way Joe Elliott does those interplays, you know, with the backing vocals, and then he sings the filler parts. That's what St. James does on this, which is great. Suspicious is a great song. That's got a kind of like funky groove to it, but very 80s glam, and reminds me of Venice Beach or something. Great backing vocals in the chorus of that song, which is great. Then The Snake is a fast, heavy rocker, brilliant song. And yeah, as with all of these Black and Blues albums, great guitar solos from Tommy Thayer. Then we go over to side 2, Live It Up, which is another just fun, catchy, hard rock song. Same with Gimme Your Love, again, a bit Def Leppard-esque with the backing vocals, very heavy. One of my favorite songs on the album is Get Wise to the Rise, just hard, heavy, and catchy once again, like, you know, pretty much the same in a good way with all of these songs. And great backing vocals, the interplay with the lead vocals and the backing vocals in the chorus of that song. Great guitar solo as well. My favorite track on the entire album is track 4 on side B, which is Great Guns of Fire. Just heavy and aggressive, catchy, great lyrics in that song about getting involved in a bar fight and just a wild Saturday night out. But the chorus, the pre-chorus and the chorus of that song is so good, you know, like my boys are getting ready, aiming high, aiming steady. Yeah, just fantastic. And then the last track, Stranger, this is interesting. It sounds like a cross between Motley Crue's Danger and Def Leppard's Fooling. So there's like Fooling, those kind of like melancholic verse lyrics and vocals. Yeah, that's what the first part sounds like, but then the chorus sounds a bit like Motley Crue's Danger, but slightly different again. So it's sort of like a melancholic and serious song to end the album, but very poignant, which is really good. So this band, they don't just have that side of singing like party anthems, they also have like the sort of sentimental ballad side and the melancholic songs. So really good album. And picture of the band on the back there. It's a shame this album was the band's swan song, because I think it was Gene Simmons who said to the band after this, "You're 4 albums in and you still haven't made it, you're probably not going to make it." Apparently, that's what I just read in the autobiography. But yeah, it's a shame. This was a great swan song for the band though, because it was a kick-ass album. Like it's hard for me to rank these albums because they all have aspects which I like in different ways, but yeah, this is one which never disappoints anyway. So this one just comes with a jacket, picture of the band, and all of the lyrics here, and again, plain black vinyl with the Geffen Records label. Yeah, so after the 80s, I think the band broke up for a while anyway, and of course, Tommy Thayer was working for Kiss, you know, for the Kiss conventions, and later joined Kiss as a musician. But then this band reunited, or I think became active again in the early 2000s, so they still play shows, and they also released, so yeah, anyway, this is Black and Blue with In Heat, fantastic album. So yeah, in the early 2000s, the band also released another album, or in 2013, I can't remember, called Hell Yeah. I don't own that one. I think it's hard to get in physical format, but from what I heard, it's very good, very similar to the 80s stuff. But as I've said many times before, it's a shame. I feel bad for this band that they didn't become really commercially successful, because I felt they deserved to, and I felt they were much more talented than a lot of those bands in that glam metal, hair metal scene of the 80s. But nevertheless, the music is eternal and it lives on. If you like bands like Motley Crue, Kiss, Def Leppard, stuff like Scorpions, stuff like that, and you haven't heard this band, I implore you to do so, because they are a criminally underrated and excellent band. So yes, that's Black and Blue. Check them out if you haven't. Alright guys, so that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll leave all the links to the albums in the description below. I will be back again soon with another video of my existing CD collection, but until then, take care and I'll talk to you soon. See you.